I was like, I'll take that challenge.
As he's spinning, spin, young man. Vince Carter.
Thank you guys for having me here.
Let's get it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Go Getters Show, brought to you by AFC Fitness in Philadelphia, powered by Sturdy Bros Productions. I'm super excited for today's guest, one of the best basketball shooting coaches in the world, in my opinion. I've been looking up to him from afar on social media for a long time, and super excited to have him in today. Mike Dunn.
Excited to be here, man. I'm excited to be in your amazing studio here. This is a cool vibe just to start.
Nate, how you feeling?
I'm excited to have him on. Obviously, you've had a lot of experiences, and you've been in this profession for a long time. So excited to pick your brain and get to tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I want to get started. I think it's always cool. You watch people on social media, and then when you get to meet them in person, it's almost like it's just a cool feeling. So for me, like, what is putting your content out there and like seeing someone like me being inspired by it and watching it from afar? And it's the first time we met. Like, is that why you do it, or what does that kind of mean to you?
It's really cool. I think you don't have an understanding for it until like certain situations or certain things happen. I initially just was doing it because I wanted dads to have information to work with their kids. Like, that's what I was always like. I loved working with my dad, right? But my dad didn't know what he was really doing. And so when I first started, I was like, oh, I want to create this content so that if dads need something to reference, it kind of gives that bridge for a dad to teach a son all this kind of stuff. But you don't realize that until I remember my first clinic I ever did out of the country, and I showed up and everybody was referencing my videos, and the kids are like, this video. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like, well, this is a real thing. And it's a really cool thing, but it also makes you very aware of, hey, put out good stuff. People are watching, you know what I mean? Don't get confused by attention, meaning that things don't have to be good. Make it good because people are going to take it to heart.
Yeah. So when you first started out, did you do all your content on your own? Did you have someone help you with it? How did it all come about?
Yeah, I still do it all on my own. I've had some people that would film some things occasionally. For programs, I'll have somebody film. And I've done a few things here and there, but for the most part, I've done it all on my own. And I encourage anybody starting that stuff, do it on your own, because you'll learn so much.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, you can scale things. Maybe you can start to change it, but do as much on your own as you can.
Prop it up on the tripod. Those are the dog days. That's when I first started. It was just me with the tripod, filming everything. And then when Nate came along, now obviously he does everything, films.
Now
and
you guys have this amazing operation.
So I respect that you still do that. That's amazing. So I guess getting back to how you started, you obviously 1,000-point scorer at Philly U for the legendary Herb McGee. We could talk about that a little bit. And then I want to talk about like post-basketball, going into insurance and kind of not knowing what the next step is, and then leading into training. So obviously that's a lot. So maybe talk a little bit about your college experience, and then we can kind of get to that stuff.
College experience was awesome. I got to start all 4 years at Philly U for Coach McGee, who in Philadelphia is like a legend.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Coach McGee is. So that was an amazing experience. Got to play with some amazing guys, amazing friendships, all of that. When that finished, I just kind of I wanted a break from basketball, to be honest. Like it just wasn't where I wasn't where I needed to be mentally from it. And so as great as it was, I was like, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work this 9-to-5 life. And I transitioned to insurance and did that for quite a while until realizing like, there's more to this for me. Like, this is great. I'm understanding it. I'm very thankful for that experience. I think anybody that's worked a real kind of corporate 9-to-5 job, any real job outside of basketball, it's only going to help you once you start to make that transition to trying to kind of become self-employed on your own. But it wasn't for me long term, and eventually decided to make that shift to basketball.
Was there one moment, like you're sitting at the desk one day, or was it a 6-12 month eating at you every day? I got to take this leap of faith, because we talk about all the time, like just making the jump, throwing yourself in the fire.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if you were married yet or with kids, or what it was like. I got no responsibilities. I can take this jump. Talk me through that.
Dude, I remember at one of the companies I was working for, this guy had been there his whole life, right? And so I'm probably like your age. I'm probably 24, 25. And this guy had given his whole life to this company, like 40 plus years of work. And it's his last day. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this guy on his last day. And I'm watching how life just goes on for everything. And it's his last day, which for him is like, I would imagine that it's exciting, but it's also very scary. And nobody really cared. Like nobody, they did a thing for him in the beginning that lasted like 10 minutes. Hey, thanks, Paul, for all this, da-da-da-da. And then it's over.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I remember thinking, yo, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going to let my personal legacy, I guess not even how much people feel about me, but like if I gave that much to a company for that many years and I get a 10-minute, thanks, man, see you later, and you're watching everything else go on around you, that was probably the catalyst for me to be like, hey, let's see if we can pivot here and do something a little different.
Yeah.
So what did the pivot look like then? Was it like an abrupt, like quit your job, go right into it? Or did you kind of like plan things out for a while?
No, I started training any possible way I could. I was posting ads on Craigslist, and that's how I got my first clients.
So what year was this?
This was 2016.
Okay.
And so I was on Craigslist, post like, hey, I teach shooting. I had no business doing it. I really didn't have, like, for people that hired me, they're out of their minds because I had no idea what I was doing.
You were the 4th all-time 3-point guy at Philly U?
I think second.
So you had a little business doing
but I have but that's the thing though with shooting, because you can do it.
Playing's way different than teaching, for sure.
Yeah, because you can do it doesn't mean you can teach it. I've been around a lot of players that can shoot the hell out of the basketball.
Can't teach it.
But if you put a player in front of them and tell them, hey, I need you to get from A to B to C, like they would have no idea how to do that. So I was living in Tennessee at the time, and my wife and I was just driving from driveway to driveway, just training kids and just trying to build things up. I had no social media at all in 2016. And one of the kids said, you should create an Instagram. I was like, all right. I said, I don't even know what Instagram is, but we'll try it out. And so that started the content piece of it. But before that, I was still just training, and I was training as much as I can. You had an amazing clip recently when you were talking about just train, like just teach.
Yeah.
Do that as much as you can, even if you're not getting paid for it, because that is going to be what allows you later on to get those paying customers, and you can't replace that experience, right? And so that's exactly what I was doing. That's why I commented on that clip. I was like, this is so money. But how many people really want to do that? How many people really want to say, I'm going to give my time for nothing, perceive nothing?
Yeah.
But it really is for something. You're gaining just as much as that player is, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, it's the short-term versus long-term gratification. I think you have to almost be delusional. Like so many people, when I would train players for free or I go out of pocket to intern for somebody, they're like, are you crazy? Like they should be paying you. I'm like, no, this experience is going to allow me to make more down the line, because the more knowledge I have, the more I can charge, the better I'm going to be. So tying on to that, I was blessed. I'm 24 now, but obviously in 2016, I'm a junior in high school.
Yeah.
I'm seeing maybe you on Instagram or Drew Hanlon or J-Law B-Ball, and like I'm seeing all these guys, and I'm like, I don't want to sit at a desk and work insurance. I want to, if I can be a basketball trainer, if I can't go pro. So for me growing up, I almost had that path. So I'm so interested. Like, I know you kind of said you just got into it and said I was going to teach shooting, but I had the privilege of seeing that path was there.
Yeah.
Was there any mentor? Like I know Gannon Baker and Phil Handy were starting, but was there anybody who like you saw that was doing it and you said, I could do this, or you just said, I don't want to do insurance, I'm going to try this?
I think I got lucky in the fact that my college coach did that in a way, right? He coached full time, obviously, but in the summertime, he did all shooting camps. And so in the summertime, even when I was at Philly U, he would take me to his shooting camp. I would demonstrate. And so I'm kind of seeing how this operates. And so I think that planted the seed of, I think this is possible. Granted, he did it on a very smaller scale in terms of it's just the summertime and he just did camps. But I told my wife when I started it, I remember I sat her down and I said, babe, I know you're going to think I'm crazy. I was like, but I'm telling you, this is going to work. I just kept saying, as long as I keep getting good, like I just have to get good at it. And I get good at it. I said, we're going to go all over the world. I'm taking you with me and we're going to teach shooting. And I said, as long as I become one of the best, that was always my thing. It still is, like, there will always be opportunity there, you know? So maybe that is a bit delusional, but I think you have to be delusional in anything when you're like, nobody knew who I was.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have anybody taking me by the hand saying, hey man, this is how you do it. It was just like, no, I'm just going to get really good. And that's, again, coming back to your clip, doing things for little to no money to start was huge. And I had the benefit, I was working 9-to-5 jobs still. You know what I mean? So it's like I had the money coming in. So I wasn't looking at basketball like, no, I have to capitalize on this now. It was, this is my investment. I'll capitalize years later.
So Danny and I never worked 9-to-5s, but do you remember the time that, or the day you went in and said, I'm done?
Man, I called my wife. I had dropped my daughter off at daycare because I officially left. I was kind of living a double life in the fact that I don't even think my job knew the extent to what I was doing. Like I left my job at times to go to work out. I remember my first NBA player workout. It was like a huge deal for me. I got a call and like, hey, so-and-so wants to work. I was like, yeah, I'm at work at the time. I said, well, when? And they're like, like in an hour. And I remember looking at my boss, I was like, hey, I got to take lunch early. And I was gone for like 4 hours, dude, right? I had to drive from where I was like by Conshohocken all the way to Temple. And it was right on the way back, like rush hour was hitting. And I was like, I'm fired. Like I'm going to get fired. No one said a word to me, all this kind of stuff. But I was doing that all the time. Like I was finding ways to still make it work. So, I mean, it's cool, man. It's but at that day, I called my wife after dropping my daughter off at daycare. I just remember this. It was so sunny out, and I just called my wife. I said, "Hey, I'm leaving. Like it feels right now. Like I know. And there were some other factors too, but I was like, this is it. Like I know I can do this. There was something about like the vibe, whatever. I don't know, but that's how I decided to leave.
For sure.
No, it's amazing. I think from everything you've already described, it seems like your wife was on board and she was super supportive. So, I mean, talk about that a little bit. How important is it as an entrepreneur to have a supportive partner that even if all else fails, she's with you?
It's amazing. And she's the best. Like, so she's gotten to see us from the ground floor of, man, really we had nothing, right? To starting to really build things up. And she's been the whole time, she's like, okay. Everything I do, she's just like, all right, let's do it. Can I help? Right? Can I help? What do I have to do to make life easier for you? That kind of stuff. So it's huge. I think it's the same whether if you have a business partner, right? If you have somebody else there who's with you, holding you accountable, but also being supportive while you're going through, it's a powerful thing, man.
That's amazing.
For sure. How do you balance it between, chasing your ambitions and wanting to keep growing, but then also reciprocating that love and support she's given to you? How do you find the time to give it back on those crazy days?
I don't think balance is a real thing. I think you're all in on one thing when you're in it, and you're all in on the other thing when you're not. And so that's the thing. It's when I'm doing my thing from a business standpoint and operating as a teacher, it has to be all that, or else the person that's trusting me to get the best out of me isn't going to get it. Likewise, when I'm with my wife or with my family, I have to be all there. And that's the hardest. That's hard, man. Like you guys now know, like you're running your own thing. You're running your own ship. Even when you're not here, I guarantee you're thinking, shoot, I got this tomorrow. I got this. This is coming up. So that presence battle is tough. Just be all in on what it is you're doing as much as you can.
Do you have any tips on being present? Because I'm one of those where my mind's always spinning in a million places. I can't turn the clock off. Like I have a girlfriend now, and it's funny. Like I'm working on my active listening and being present, but it's so hard because like the business is my baby, and it's what makes me happy, and I just can't shut a clock off and watch Netflix. Like that's just not how I work. So where do you go with that? Like how do you?
So I think everything is related. So when I teach shooting, if we're fixing something or if we're addressing a certain habit, we isolate that habit. We do things in a very progressive way where we're going to almost isolate and make this as manageable as possible to begin. So the same thing for me has worked in terms of if I'm trying to learn to be here, I'm trying to be here where I am. Can I even be where I am when I'm by myself, right? With my thoughts, meditating, whatever it is. If I can't do that, I'm not going to be able to do that with my wife and my daughters around at the same time. So for me, it's like you're only going to be as good as the work you put into yourself anyway. And so as long as I'm focusing on, hey, when I do have moments to be present for myself, I then have that ability to transfer over that to be present for the family. You know what I mean? So it's tough. And it's like, I don't think that will ever end. It's going to be a battle either way. As long as you're ambitious, I mean, that's part of the deal.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, because sometimes I'll work players out, and if I didn't get my own personal like workout,
yes,
I can already tell the workout's not as good. I'm not in as good of a mood. So do you have like, you're about to work with a player? Is there like I know I see you posting about like lifting sometimes. Is there a non-negotiable you have to do for Mike Dunn before you work players out? Or are you always like, my best ability is my availability, I'm showing up any day, anytime, regardless of if like I took care of myself first? Because I fall victim to that a lot, where I put others before me, which I think is a good thing, but not so much for myself, I guess.
I think it's a great thing for you now. But then when you're an old man like me, you'll learn that you come first. And you can only be the best. Again, you can only be the best version of you if you've put in the time on you. And whether that's like, for me, like, I'm going to go to the gym. I have to lift weights, right? It's part of who I am. I feel much better when I do that. I now am at a point where my gym schedule, like for me being in the weight room, nothing is going to come in between that for me. So it's like, if somebody says, hey, I want to be in this time, well, actually that's my lifting time. And I don't say that, but it's like, I'm not available, because I know that that's part of what makes me feel good about what I'm doing. So you'll learn as time goes on and you continue to grow that becomes important. Saying no becomes important. Yeah, all that stuff becomes a big time player in the grand scheme.
It's good to know. So I think we got a good backstory. Let's talk about what you got going on now. So the Keep Shooting Academy.
Yep.
Almost 500,000 followers on Instagram. 1,900 plus days of not missing a day, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So just, I guess, talk about what that is. If that's, I know you've mentioned your business, but is it primarily the online Keep Shooting Academy? I know you still do in-person clients. Maybe talk about the percentages of, your revenue in person versus online, because we're really trying to tap into the online space now.
You should.
Pretty much 98% of our revenue is in person.
Yeah.
So we're like, how do we attack the online space? So I'd love just to selfishly learn from you.
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit.
No, I love this. So I would say the overwhelming majority of the income comes from the online space in a variety of different places. I started the Keep Shooting Academy back in 2020. And now I'm going, like, I'll be coming up on 2,000 straight days of never missing a day in there.
Wow.
And so with that is I've given people access to me every single day. So they can ask as many questions as they want. They can send as much video as they want. I had read something years ago in a Malcolm Gladwell book about the Beatles. And I believe they were in Hamburg, Germany. And they went on this run of a period of playing every single day for like almost 2 years. I want to say it was something like that. I'm probably wrong. But what somebody said was, if you watch the Beatles before they made that Hamburg run, when nobody really knew who the Beatles was or who they were, and then you watch them at the end of that Hamburg run when they did something every single day, it was almost unrecognizable in terms of how good they got. And so when I started that academy online, it was a way for me to be able to always be teaching shooting, even if I wasn't on the court. And so the way I looked at it was like, okay, if I do this every single day and I'm communicating, I'm speaking, I'm getting feedback from people that learn a million different ways, I'm going to get so much better at what I'm doing. And so that was always the goal. And I think a lot of times people look at the online space sometimes as it's not a personal thing. And there can be two avenues to that. You can sell like a program, or you can sell your time, which is what I did in the beginning. And it has made me 100x more valuable on the court because of it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been an amazing way to leverage social media, leverage the internet, because you're pulling from people everywhere, not just in your general area. And it also starts to allow you to be much more picky with who you choose to work with in person. And so that's now become a big thing. I'm not going to just say yes to anybody anymore, because I don't want to go in the gym one time with you and never see you again. I really don't care who you are either, to be honest. Like, I don't care if you're the number 2 ranked player in the country. I don't I don't want to go in the gym with you for an hour. It does not move the needle for me personally.
Yeah.
It could maybe move it if I filmed it but that's never been my thing. You know what I mean? So finding a way to do it and personalize it for people and make it valuable. I tell every trainer that I meet and that hasn't done it, find a way to do it, because it may be really tough in the first 2 to 3 years, but then 5 years later, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, oh my God, like, I'm so glad I did that, because now it's going to free up so much more time for me to do things that I really want to do.
For sure. I think the online space for us so far has been hard. So talk about when you first started posting and when you first saw your traction on any social media platform, whether it was, day after the kid told you to start your Instagram, or when you first saw like a spike in your engagement. Yeah.
I mean, I think I was posting on Instagram and I was like, I'm just going to post every day. I'm going to find something to post. And it probably, like, for me then, that was 2016. I want to say it took like a good year before there was any real traction there. You know what I mean? And then, so you got to think, from 2016 to 2020, I was posting almost every day, just free. And then I offered the academy for the first time in 2020. So it was like 4 years of free content. Okay, now I'm going to do this, and then learning to grow that. I remember being so happy when I had my first paid online member.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, somebody's paying for this. I remember telling my wife, I was like, somebody's paying for this. Like, can you, like, if they pay, I think somebody else is going to pay. And I think somebody else. And so it's this that everybody talks about on the social side, is the consistency factor. And I think, and I wanted to say this, actually, I want to say this before we even started, but with the way you guys have started to now post on social, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen your stuff pop up as much as it pops up for me now. And it looks like you are making a real deliberate effort to start to attack that space more so. And it's been really cool to see. Like, it's a noticeable difference in terms of how you guys are starting to approach things, from the on-court stuff to this stuff. I love seeing people just like say, hey, I'm sure it was strategic, like, yo, we're going after this. Like, let's do this. And I can tell. And I think it's really cool.
I appreciate that. No, you got.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, honestly, for a while, we were kind of like in no man's land.
Yeah.
We didn't know like where to go with it. And we were just posting to post. And then, like, Danny was like always talking about doing carousels and stuff like that to try to get more engagement from our actual followers.
Yeah.
Which, if they then repost it and stuff like that, we'll actually get more traction. So then we tried it, and we've been rocking with it for a couple of weeks now. And I mean, like you said, we've definitely seen a difference, and it's been fun to see. Just, it seems like we're reaching more people and impacting a little more people. So it's been fun.
It's hard though. I've been posting content since really 2020. Like, when I first started, COVID hit, I did Instagram live ball handling workouts. That's kind of like how I started. I did that for free for like 2 months.
Yeah.
That's how I built my original brand and my base. And I've always been big on, like, we get caught up in the views and obviously, but it's like, if we could just build those 100 to 1,000 people that really love us, and I'm sure you think the same way. So how do you then go about, you build that community? Because we see there's all these course bros now, right? There's all these guys selling Facebook ad courses and TikTok courses, and something against that. But how do you go about selling this online program without being a course bro, for lack of a better term? Like, I'm not trying to scam you. I'm actually going to help you and get better.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to do, because some people approach it like, I don't believe that you're going to do this. Like, there's no way that you're going to put your time into it and stuff like that. So there's been people that are apprehensive about doing it because they don't think that I'm actually going to do what I was saying I'm going to do. I think that's where you have to let the social side of things be your resume, in a way of, if people look at that, they're like, okay, like, I think this person's really about what it is that they're saying. They're in it for the right reason. Like, I don't want to say the right reasons. They care about what it is that they're putting together. And now I sell courses now. I sell a course now too. Yeah. Like, I've started doing it. It's a side of things that I've never done, but it was time, because of the volume, certain things becoming manageable, certain things not, some people not wanting that in-person stuff or the personalized stuff. So it's tough, man. It's tough to grow anything. And I think a lot of people will get very discouraged very early. Again, for me, though, when I was working my 9-to-5 job, I didn't need basketball to take off for me because I had that coming in to support the family. I just made a promise to myself that after a certain amount of time, I was like, if I'm doubling my income per month of what I make at a 9-to-5, if I do this for a half a year, I know that I'm in a good position that I can go. And when I hit that and then the sunny day, it was like, this is it. Like, it's time.
Hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Sorry for this, but we got to pay the bills really quick. We want to tell you about our brand new ball handling program, Handle Hustle.
So if you're a basketball player out there and you've been struggling with your handle, or you're a parent and you help your child out, but you don't have a structure to help them, Handle Hustle is perfect for you. It's going to be 10 minutes a day for 10 days. It'll completely transform your handle or your child's handle if you're helping them. So go get that. We'll put the link on the screen here, DannyCooperBasketball.com/online training, and the link's going to be in the description. Now back to the episode. Adding on to that online space, your catchphrase, I make shooting simple, or I keep shooting simple.
Yeah.
That's something we've talked about a while. Like, we're not really known for anything. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, would you recommend like niching down, if that's the way to say it? Or like, cause you're a shooting coach. Like, I know you're a shooting coach. I feel like we do live decision-making training. I feel like I'm pretty good at teaching shooting. I can do ball. Like, I do so many different things, but you're known for that. So would you recommend just picking one thing and running with it? Or should I kind of still try to be an all-around developer? And I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
It's interesting because when I first started doing this, I had numerous people in the basketball space that were trainers that told me what I was doing would never work because I was too niche. They're like, that won't work. Like, you're not going to be able to scale and all this kind of stuff. And now it's funny because it's done nothing but really help, right? It's helped immensely. I think finding something from the marketing side of it that makes you is always worthwhile, right? And even like everything you just said there's definitely something in there that you could create some type of catchphrase, some type of something that makes you unique. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, again, shout out to Bobby White, because his growth was like crazy, right? And I remember talking to him. I was like, dude, this is nuts how you're growing. He's like, yeah. He's like, I just tell people to follow me. He's like, you won't believe what happens when you just tell people to follow you. And so I said, well, I'm stealing it. I'm letting you know right now, I'm doing it. And that coupled with, I keep shooting simple. Follow me. I'm telling you, like, that kind of stuff, as cringe as it felt, especially in the beginning, it has done. I mean, it's just returned itself over and over and over to be a great thing. Well, find something.
Yeah, I mean, the only two only shooting coaches that I even know of are like you and Lethal Shooter, I would say, like on Instagram. So you've clearly done something right. And I think maybe we should, I mean, I like training all different aspects of basketball, but maybe we should try to find like one thing that's insightful. Yeah.
There has to be a way to have for you guys. It seems like you're talking about one thing, but you're still encompassing everything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it has to be, there's something out there. You'll be on the court with somebody one day and you'll say something. I guarantee, like, you'll say something to a player and you're gonna be like, oh, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, that's how. But
also, like, from a trainer's perspective, because I feel like I am really good at a bunch of different aspects.
Yeah.
Like, would you think it's smart to just dive into one aspect, like shooting or something else, or just kind of? Because I don't know. I've always been, I want to help as many players as I can, and I'm sure you do as well. But.
I think it just depends on it really depends on what you want to do. I wouldn't base it. I don't think it's worth basing everything on what you think other people want. Do what you think you're best at.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you also wouldn't want to pigeonhole yourself into something for the sake of, okay, I know this will help me grow, but then you don't like it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To me, that would kill me. If I'm doing ball handling drills because I thought people wanted ball handling drills too, but I was like, I don't want to do that.
So do you work with players who need things other than shooting, or it's just shooting?
No.
Just shooting.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, shooting is the one skill that everyone needs because, I mean, obviously the game now, you know, in the NBA especially, a lot of threes. So let's get into how you kind of teach shooting just a little bit. Maybe, you know, where you start, how you evaluate a player, and then where you start from there.
So I think shooting is shooting is extremely personalized. And so even the stuff that I post on social media, everything is so contextual. So I'll post something just because I've worked with a player maybe that day, and like, this is the verbiage that we used in order to get a point across. But I see it much different, I would say, if you talk to even somebody that's been around the game a long time, and I think it's probably because I'm in it so much, is that I don't see shooting as this needs to be here, my hand needs to be here, this. That's a part of it, right? But that to me it's not form. So form to me, and I've said this a few times, but like, form to me is what you can't see. Form is the sequencing of things. It's how things move in a sequential order. It's really the space that, that things start to move through. Like, if you take, for instance, this room, right? Well, what makes this room the studio and everything is what you put in it. But what makes this room valuable to begin with was the space that it offered, right? And you could have turned this into a variety of different things, right? But you've turned it into a studio. So you've turned it into the mic goes here, it becomes functional as a studio because that occupies the space that this has. You can almost think of a shot, you're putting together something the same way, and you're adding pieces within the space of the sequence of which things move. That for a player it might be a concentration on, this is where our hand eventually needs to get to. But it's the space that those things occupy within the sequence of events that make shooting what it is. And so that might sound complicated, but it actually makes things for me really easy because I'm not looking at it like this has to look this way. I'm watching how things flow. And seeing, okay, well, that doesn't look right, and so we're going to change that, and we're gonna modify. But that's kind of how I see shooting.
No, I understood a lot of what you said. I actually bought one of your programs before, so I mean, I'm familiar with some of your stuff, and I'm sure you formulated a lot yourself. But talk about your relationship with Rob Foder. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
So I know you're a big advocate of him. He's the shooting coach for the Miami Heat. Talk about what you've learned from him. And your relationship.
He's a mad scientist.
That's how you sound.
He's the best mentor I could have ever asked for because he didn't give me all the answers. And so he recognized that I wanted to learn a lot of this stuff. He's the kind of person that, like, the first time I sat down with him, I'm talking to Rob and he's talking to me about shooting. And that's when I realized that I knew nothing. I didn't know anything. And so it kind of left me with the choice of, do I continue to go down this road or do I just go back to insurance, right? Like, what's it going to be? And he has been an amazing friend and mentor in the fact that he'll give me ideas or concepts with things, but he'll never lay out the answer. And his whole thing has been, have you ever seen the movie Finding Forrester?
No.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So Finding Forrester, basketball-ish movie. It's a basketball player. But he's the star basketball player is also this extremely gifted student and a really gifted writer. And he befriends this very famous author who's also like a recluse. And they kind of hit off this relationship. And the already established author tells the student, if you're ever having trouble writing or you have a writer's block, find something that inspires you and just use the first couple words. And then find your own. And so he would always make that reference. He's like, listen, I'm going to give you a couple of words, basically, or ideas. He's like, but you're going to have to figure out how you distribute the information. And that has been the biggest blessing in the world because everybody just wants the answer.
Yeah.
But the answer isn't what leads to you being able to be really good at it. You have to understand it and then find your own way of speaking to it.
I always say to teach is to learn twice. That's the quote that changed my life.
Yeah. Or like a million times.
Well, yeah. Because when we teach our players, like you just said, I'm much more of like, figure it out. I'm going to let you mess up for 5 to 10 minutes because that's how you're going to retain it. Yeah. So it's cool to see that. And then along those lines, I'm sure you've had offers of being an NBA shooting coach with a team. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Has that been a thought of yours? Do you want to, since obviously you have a family, it always fascinates me how I feel like some of the best basketball developers and coaches are actually not a part of NBA or EuroLeague teams.
Right.
So I don't know, where's your head at with that? Would you ever want to do that, get into a program, or you don't want to be, because for me, at least right now, I don't want to be tied down. I want to travel when I want. I want to work with who I want. So
yeah, I've had interest. My wife and I have talked about it, but I don't want a piece of that life. And then for multiple reasons, I love teaching, man. Like, I can't relay to you how much I enjoy being on the floor with somebody that really wants to be there and really wants to get it. It's like an hour can feel like 5 minutes, right? Yeah. It's one of those things. The idea of working, and this isn't even just the NBA. This would be in Europe. This would be anywhere. The idea of being put on a team and saying, hey, this is your role to teach. There is no teacher without that reciprocation on the end of the student of them wanting to be there.
Yeah.
They're not there for you. They're there because they're getting paid to be there. And so I don't care who you are, especially as you climb up those ranks, the egos are very different.
For sure.
And so I don't want to become a salesman in terms of, hey man, this is what you should like. I want you to buy in because you already want to buy in. There's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will show, right? That's how I live my life. I don't chase anybody down. I refuse to. When you're ready, then we'll do it. But being forced to be in that situation for me, that's really tough, man. That's really tough because, again, shooting is a very personal thing, and you need a real relationship. It's why even for my like highest level clients, I keep a lot of those relationships very private. Like, I'm not going to constantly say I'm with this person. Like, it's, for me, their struggles or what they're learning and all this kind of stuff, I like to keep that behind closed doors for the most part.
Yeah. No, I think NBA players, I mean, we've even seen, because we've been fortunate to work with some, it's a challenge because there's egos, there's money. So I've seen you do a little work with Brandon Pajcic.
Yep.
So if you want to talk about that, or because I've seen a noticeable difference in his shot too.
Yeah.
So what do you look for in an NBA player where it's like, no matter if it's LeBron hitting you up, like if he's not acting a certain type of way or he's not buying in, are you like, I'm not working with you? Or is it like, because we're battling that now too, right? We're only 24. We're trying to build our brand. For us, in a way, it's like, if we can get our hands on an NBA player, it'd be foolish to say no, right?
Right.
But I really respect that you're saying that. So is there a scenario like, did Brandon do or say something that this is my guy, I want to work with him? Or how does that work?
I'll tell you a really cool story about Brandon. Is Brandon reached out when he was at Santa Clara and wanted to change things, and we did almost everything remotely. Everything came through that Keep Shooting Academy. And I've been fortunate enough since to be on the court with him a few times. He's one he just wants to understand what shooting is. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to, and I would never say that I'm not responsible for Brandon's success.
Yeah.
Like, not at all. Right. And Brandon has a trainer that works with him, Dustin Van Loo.
Yep.
Dustin's amazing. Like, just so Dustin's way more involved with Brandon than I am. And I just kind of serve as this, I guess, a liaison of sort, like, hey, question about this. I'm like this kind of stuff. But it's just the want to. It's the want to. I want to learn. I want to know what this is. I want to do all that stuff. And that's it for me. So it doesn't matter if you're an NBA guy. It doesn't matter if you're a junior in high school. If you really want to learn it, I love being that bridge that helps people put together the pieces.
So you mentioned not taking credit for his success, but was there ever a time you were working with someone and you really noticed a change in their shot or their efficiency, and you were like, really, it was a really proud moment for you? Is there one that sticks out?
I think every time, but it's the same thing. It comes down. There's a saying, if a horse could speak and the horse said, I'm a really handsome horse, right? The horse is very justified in saying that the horse is handsome. But if the owner of that horse comes about and says, hey, look at my really handsome horse, that owner did nothing to make that horse a good looking horse.
I like that.
And so I'm a huge reader. Like, I read a ton. Some of the best books I've ever read have changed, like, they've changed my life.
Can you name some of those?
Think I will, but I don't think the authors are like, hey, that guy, I changed Mike's life. No, they just put out the information and they said, do with it what you will. You know what I mean? And like, that inspires me so much that you could write a book, someone could pay for it. You could pay $15.99 for a book, and it could lead you to your first $100,000 or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at teaching. Like, I don't. If anybody ever want to give me credit, great. But I'm not gonna. For me, it's just me. Like, I just don't. I don't go that way.
Do you ever get anxiety watching games? Because
Yes.
some of the players that we work with, it's so hard to watch because like every miss, I'm like I go crazy.
I get anxiety watching any game. Like
Yeah.
I was.
I'm saying with your client. That is playing. Yeah.
Yes. Like if I'm with, I was at my client's game, at the junior EYBL the other day, and I'm watching it. And I was like, I felt a pit in my stomach like the entire time because I know what he's capable, and he's the best shooter I've ever seen for his class, like bar none. But still, it's like in my stomach, I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. But yeah, for sure, I get so nervous watching it.
Man.
So we talked a lot about the online stuff, and obviously you've traveled working with some high level guys. What was your favorite place you've ever traveled to, or done a camp, or anything like that?
Good one.
The best place I've ever been to is Gran Canaria in Spain, property of Spain. It's like off the Ivory Coast, and it's there's an ACB team there that's continuing to climb the ranks there. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. Like black sand beaches, perfect weather every single day, and then they have this culture that they're building within an ACB team that's just getting better and better because of, in my viewpoint on it is because of the president of the organization now, Satafa, and it's one of those things that's the most beautiful place I've ever been to, but I remember more so just very small conversation with Satafa, who's the president of that team, that has, from the day I've gone there, put a battery in my back to be better and better. And so multiple reasons. But yeah, Gran Canaria is incredible.
It's cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, I've been fortunate to, I'm sure you've connected with Coleman by any means.
Yeah.
I went to Iceland and Milan with him.
Nice.
That was cool. And then I did my own camps in Vietnam and Aruba. So
nice.
Those are that's my hopeful plans for the future, to be able to bring Nate along with me and do camps around the world. So there's nothing like it. And I feel like the appreciation from those players, nothing against American kids, but I feel like it's always like another level when an American coach comes and teaches them. So that's been the coolest thing for me.
I'll tell you, if I could tell you a story real quick about that. So
we good on time?
Yeah, we're good.
Right.
I'm in a place, I won't say where it is because I don't want to give away, but I'm in a country, and I'm working with a professional team, and I'm working with their younger team. And so it's these kids 15 to 17, or 14 to 17 basically, that are now vying for professional contracts because the club brings them in. You're an asset. We're going to develop you, all this kind of stuff. And I'm working with players. The first day, none of them speak English at all, right? None of them speak English. By the end of that week, we had worked together every day, 2-a-days for a week. By the end of that week, they were answering and responding to me in English as we went through. And I had talked to one of the coaches there, and I'm like, this is the most incredible thing. And I'm talking about, like, I won't be surprised if a few of these guys end up in the NBA at some point, right? I said, this is amazing, the way, like, the attention to detail, this kind of stuff. And this is what changed my perspective on almost everything. And he said, he looked at me puzzled, and he said, Mike, they don't have a choice. He was like, do you know where they come from? Like, this is the country, the country we were in wasn't the country they were coming from. He said, over there? He said, where they come from? He's like, if they don't make it, then nobody makes it. And said, so when people say basketball is life, like, you hear that thrown out around, no, it's not. Not for 99.9%, but for the people or the kids that have that opportunity to play for a professional organization at 14 and then start to earn their stripes to then make a contract to get their family out of whatever situation they're in. When you watch a player like that lock in on what it is they have to learn in order to get better, it's a whole different game, man. And ever since then, it's like I take my job that much more serious, because millions of dollars are at stake, but also you can help change somebody's family, right? You can be a piece of that story that's going to help them get to where they want to go. And how cool is that? Like, to me, that's the coolest thing in the world.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool.
So
thing.
I guess a few quick hitters that I want to know about your shooting philosophy, I guess.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about finding the seams on the basketball. Like, you catch it in a bad way. What's your take on that quick take?
I've always found them. I don't think you need to find them. I think that the better the shooter you are, I don't know of any really good shooter that doesn't find them. How you find them is unique to the player too. Like for me, I use my guide hand to shift the ball around to find the seams. Okay. So I get to a place where my hand is still as possible, shift that ball. It's like not knowing it. It's like somebody looking. It's like when you see somebody that does a Rubik's Cube without looking, right? You just have the feel. You know where things are. It's the same thing. So whether you find it with your shooting hand or whether you find it with your guide hand, I think it's different. I don't think you have to do it, but I also think you're a psychopath if you're a good shooter and you don't like finding the seams.
We're working with a player now. I'm not going to name him, but he's preparing for the NBA draft, and he'll do form shooting without the seams. Yeah. And like for me, it's like
that's how you know. That's how you know he's not a shooter.
No, he is.
Oh, is he?
Like he's knocked down, and we're looking at each other, and I'm sure you know this. Like sometimes the less a shooter knows, the better. Like the less he's thinking. So we're looking at each other like this is crazy.
I wouldn't change that.
But like
if he's making shots,
I'm not saying anything. But to me, it's like it's just funny.
It is funny.
But yeah. So next thing, I think this will help a lot of kids out there. Is there a number of reps or makes that you need every day? And I know there's a lot of college coaches too that'll be like when we played in college, our coach wanted us to track 200 shots a day. How many do you make? Are you a believer in that? Or are you a believer in quality over quantity, or a mix of both?
Yeah, I think it's all intention. And then obviously the longer you can be intentional, the better you're going to be. So what I'll tell a player is how long do you think you can concentrate for on what it is that you're actually trying to get better at, right? Maybe it's only 20 minutes. Well, then give me all the best 20 minutes that you possibly have. There's an amazing scene in that second documentary Netflix did with Conor McGregor when he's talking to young fighters. And it's a small scene, and he's talking to these young fighters, and he's like, listen, man, like physically, there's not a lot that we're not that different. Like we're not that different. He said, what sets me apart from any one of you is like I can concentrate 10 times longer than you can. And I was like, wow. Like to me, that's incredible. Like that's such that piece of information should have been everywhere. Right. So that's what it comes down to. Like, what are you actually concentrating on? Because I can get up thousands of reps any other way, but am I actually being deliberate about and intentional about what I'm doing?
So concentration over reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we talk about a lot.
And you need the reps.
Yeah.
Right?
I think too.
Concentrate while doing the reps.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the big thing. And then realize when you're at a place where it's not connecting anymore.
And then block versus variable. When you're fixing a shot, is it like much more block, and then as they get better, you're moving on to more variable and adding challenge with time constraints or different stuff like that? Is it like break down really quickly just your process of either a player who can't shoot, how you build that up, and then when you add no contest to time constraints to a contest, or if a player is better, when do you add in challenge and stuff like that?
It's isolate first. Let's figure out if we can feel what it is that we're doing. It's actually the most simple process, and it's why like there's these arguments that always go back and forth, like block training's bad, this randomized training's the best, and like people, it's all the same. Like if you're fixing habits, eventually if you're leading with something that's very isolated and stationary, the only way you advance that player is to eventually get into the randomized training.
Right.
But you can't throw somebody that has a deeply ingrained habit always right into randomized training, because their habit is their habit for a reason, right? And maybe life is a little different for me because I teach shooting. But we isolate, and then little by little we start to add more movement here, more movement here. We're going to add in decision-making here. We're going to add in defense here. We're going to put up against the clock now. But the big thing is being able to recognize who the individual is in front of you and what are they actually able to handle at that point in time, right? And so it goes from a very basic to, hey, this is where we're trying to get to. Or if you have a really high-level shooter, it's much different. Like I've worked with some guys that are some of the best, like in my opinion, some of the best shooters in the NBA. When I go on the court with them, it's going to be, we're just pinpointing the one thing where we can be more efficient, and we're going right after that, pretty much at a game speed like way, right? To figure it out, right? Yeah. So you have to recognize who's in front of you. How do they learn? How fast do they learn? Do they really want to know the why behind it, or do they want to just want to rep it out to do it? Like it's all different.
One more. You talk about shooting being a progression type of thing, and within that you change things.
Yes.
What are the top 3 things you see wrong in jump shots in that progression?
So sequencing would be number one.
Can you elaborate on that?
So sequencing is the order in which everything happens. Eventually, everybody knows we have to get to here, right? But the best way we take advantage of that is the body has to have a chance to extend under to get to this place that we can actually take advantage. So the order in which things are happening, the sequence is the biggest thing. And there's a lot of carryovers from when kids are younger that they're used to doing everything at once because they have to, right? Because we don't lower the baskets here. And so it makes everything more difficult. And so that carries over until they get older. So sequencing is probably the first one. That's the biggest one and one of the biggest things that I focus on. Now, number two, I'm just going to say is balance. And balance is always a buzzword thrown around when I went to camp. You got to be balanced. You got to be balanced. But if you ask the coach, what's balance? No, teach me what balance is. And it's like, well, feet shoulder width apart. And then, no, that's not what it is. Like, how do I actually drop down and get into an athletic position? How do my feet actually connect to the floor? How does that actually influence how the ball starts to move from a sequencing standpoint? And so just getting kids to actually understand, hey, this is how we drop down and connect to the floor from a balance standpoint, not just stationary, but how we move. It feeds into everything with the shot in terms of you even being able to sequence. Because if your balance isn't where it needs to be, then we're not going to be able to move the ball how it needs to be moved in order to take advantage of that. And if I had to say three, last one, I don't know if this isn't necessarily a form mistake. I think it's a mental mistake. A lot of people, when they start to go down the path of shooting, will ask, how long does it take? And I always tell them, if you're asking that question, then we might as well not pursue this, because your journey and your associations are completely different from anybody else's. Just be focused on progress. Be focused on understanding, and it will take what it takes, but you'll continue to make progress. And I think the best shooters in the world, I don't know Steph Curry, but I could guarantee if you ask Steph Curry, like, are you still getting better at this? He's going to say, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I'm still trying to figure it out, right? It's never done. Like, mastery isn't this destination. It's a mindset shift. And when you have that mastery mindset, it's just going to keep going and going and going. I think that's a big thing.
Love that. Along those lines, we get kids and parents always saying, I'm sure you deal with this, I can't change my shot right now, I'm in season or season. So what's your take on that? Is there like an age when it doesn't matter if you make a shot in an AAU tournament, we're changing your shot? Is there a time of the year when this is the best time to work on it? Because it probably does take, 1, 2, 3 months of deliberate practice to change a habit and change your form. What do you say to those parents?
But if you
kids?
Can't shoot now, what are we saving?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like what I always tell, and I tell professionals this as well. If we're working during the season, my job isn't to make this harder for you, it's to make it easier for you. And so the way that I approach shooting is coming from a place of we're taking away movement, we're not adding it. Usually when I have players, we gotta remove stuff, right? And so I think that mindset shift of, okay, well, let's remove. Okay, that actually would be easier. So I can start to work on this now. Something that I tell parents, but if you're already not a good shooter, like what are we holding on to? It can't get worse. It's not going to get worse. Like, makes sense. No, do it now, because you keep pushing things off down the line, you're just going to keep pushing it. It's just never going to happen. That's the way it's going to go.
So we were talking about sequencing, and a big thing that I teach is going from the 1 to 2 position with a straight ball path, right? Straight fluid ball path. So with amazing shooters like Kevin Durant and other guys who will swing it to their left first and then come up, at what point is that okay? And then what do they reach to be able to still make shots consistently?
Right. So in the beginning, if I'm working with a player that's really struggling to shoot, right, we're going to try to create a straight line as possible, even if it's not necessarily straight. But a straight line doesn't necessarily mean that the sequencing is correct. So if you look at a guy like Kevin Durant, or even if you look at a guy like LeBron, they do two things very, very well. KD more so than LeBron. One is that the ball continues to always move relative to the ground. So even though they move that ball up, they establish this angle up here eventually, but the timing in which the body attaches, that ball can, if you took away their body and you just watched the basketball, the ball would never move, stop relative to the ground, and then go up again. It's going to be a consistent movement up until it eventually goes. All right. So with KD, what he does an amazing job, even if there's a little bit of a loop there. As that ball is approaching that place where he's going to kind of lock in where his set point would be, the body attaches under and the ball continues to go up. And what LeBron and him both do so well is they stabilize that elbow on the finish so that as he goes up, when it's time to release, if you just watch their elbow on the finish, it's never going up this way. Everything is going direct this way. Okay. And so you can sequence a million. you can get to your sequencing a million different ways. That's why you could still move the ball from outside this way, right? It's if you wanted to, and then but you're still going to get back to here, right? And then you're going to stabilize that elbow through. So as long as the ball continues to move relative to the ground, and you eventually find that stabilization of the elbow, you're going to be fine. And then if you're 6'10", like your points of leverage are completely different than somebody else's there as well. So at 6'10", this loaded position here, shoot it a mile, right? Because your lever is so much bigger than somebody that's 5'10". The length of your limbs is different, but you're still getting to the same place. But so I would say for a shorter player, I don't know of many short players that are great shooters that have very different ball paths. It seems like it's always something that's happening with a longer player. Right. They're afforded that variability. And that's where, again, you have to look at who's in front of you, right? Because and that's why I said, like, form isn't always what you can see. It's what you can't see. It's how you're moving through these points in time, and then how you're moving through those points in time dictate the transfer of energy flow through there.
Makes total sense. So then, like, one motion versus two motion, is that not a thing?
It doesn't
either?
exist.
Because we teach, like, we talk about it a lot. Maybe that's something I heard growing up, like, you want your shot to be one motion. So I'd love for you to help me, like, what is that?
If you look at one motion versus two motion, a true one motion thing would be a pass.
Right.
Like if I just push the ball right out this way. But we can't do that with the shot because the ball also has to go up. It can't just go out. And so there has to be a place where we lift up, the ball has to go up, and then the ball has to go out. So if you think about just those two words, that's two distinct motions that the ball is taking. The ball moves up, changes direction out.
Okay.
So no matter how you look at it, it's an up and out motion. If you look at the greatest shooter that ever lived, if you watch Steph's shot, if you watch how he has progressed through the years, it was a very defined up and out to the point where he gets through that up and out so fast that people think he's just
one motion.
But he's not.
Yeah.
And if you slow it down, you can see it. It's two distinct things, up and out, each one.
So what would you do, like, because I would consider, I guess, a two motion shot from what I used to think. Now you just enlightened me.
Right.
But like, if we get players, like, they'll get it up here, they'll almost stop or pause, like a hitch, and then they'll go. So like how I've tried to fix that is be like, you got to be one motion, get through.
But that's the ball stopping relative to the ground.
Okay. So the ball doesn't stop, it just has to go up and then out.
The ball can stop relative to your body, but it can't stop relative to the ground. And so that's where sequencing comes into play. So if I start to move this ball up and then I reach that place that you're talking about, right as I'm about to reach there, that's when the body needs to extend up under. And now you continue that angle up into space as it goes. So the 1-2 through thing is really 1-2 body through. 1-2 body attaches through.
Okay.
And then you find out your kind of unique timing within that. But yeah, there really is no one motion. It'd be so hard to control. There's one motion from half court, because your perspective to the rim changes and all this kind of stuff, and you can kind of you have enough time to get air under it, but there's not one motion anywhere else.
It's great stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch this podcast a couple of times, but I don't want to keep too much of your time. Basically, the theme of our show it's called the Go Getters Show, and we only want to have on people who are go getters.
Yeah.
And a go getter to me is someone who goes and makes their dreams happen at all costs. They burn the boats, they back against the wall, and they make it happen. And they're delusional in their thinking. So you, to me, I knew this beforehand, but based on your story, you're 100% a go-getter. So one thing we talk about is that I know you grew up with two younger siblings, right?
Yes.
So for me, I was a middle child. And I think the nature versus nurture argument of a go-getter is, well, first off, I want to hear your take on that. But for me as a middle child, I think my environment played a big role in me being a go-getter because I played with my big brother and his friends. I was getting beat up all the time. So I feel like I had to go get it. Otherwise I would be soft and like, so I don't know. How did your go-getter mindset come about? Talk about your environment growing up a little bit, and then maybe just nature, if you think it's ingrained in you.
It definitely is not ingrained in me. My dad said something to me recently. He said, I can't believe you've done what you've done because you've always been the most cautious person there's been. And so for me, it wasn't ingrained. For me, it was eventually getting to a place back against the wall. I can't live like that way for forever. Let's see what this is about. And there's just something very empowering about saying, how great can I be at something? Especially when you feel like I don't like to say that other people doubt it, but for sure, like I definitely have people that that doubted it at a time that really fueled a big time fire. Looking back on it, I realized that that doubt was my doubt, right? And they can have their opinions, but the only way those opinions sway me in any type of way if I believed a little bit of it. Yeah. So I think it's a nurture type of thing, very dependent on the situation that you're in. So even yours sounds like it's like a combination.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
Because I think people can be raised the same way.
Yeah.
Like you can have 3 siblings all raised the same way, and you could turn out totally different.
Yeah, yeah.
So my brother works a 9 to 5, and he's happy with that. Like he's not an entrepreneur. I am. So like I've just been fascinated where that comes from. Both my parents are entrepreneurs. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've had a variety of things happen in my life where I think it was also like, hey man, you only get one shot at this thing, and maybe you dodged the bullet here a few times where you almost didn't get that shot. So let's start taking advantage of it and seeing what's on the other side of that.
Cool.
It's dope.
You got anything to add?
No, covered it.
I think just shameless plug time. Where can the people find you? I think
Instagram, see Mike Dunn. YouTube, see Mike Dunn. I'm growing TikTok now.
Let's do it.
So I've really grown on there surprisingly, which has been cool. So TikTok, see Mike Dunn, and then keepshootingacademy.com. If anybody wants to see any of the things that I offer, whether that's the individualized coaching or the already prepackaged plans and stuff like that. I know not everybody wants the individual stuff, so you can find me.
What's the C? What's that C Mike Dunn?
So C Mike Dunn comes from Coach McGee.
Okay.
So Coach McGee in practice, every time we ran the floor in a fast break, he wanted the ball to find me because he wanted an early opportunity for a 3-point shot. And so he would just be screaming in practice, see Mike Dunn, see Mike Dunn, see Mike Dunn. And so when I thought about my Instagram hand, I was like, I'm going to teach shooting. I'm going to go see Mike Dunn. And then thought about the other side of that's going to be a great thing eventually because it's going to be like, hey, I have shooting issues. You need to go see Mike Dunn.
See Mike Dunn.
And so
that's
it all
smart, man.
It all worked out. It all worked out.
Play on words. That's always
smart. Good. Yeah, we're gonna put all those links in the description for you guys. Go check out Keep Shooting Academy. Go follow See Mike Dunn on Instagram and all the platforms. Yeah. But this was amazing. I feel like I learned so much today.
Yeah, me too.
Next time we should get on the court.
Let's do it.
Then we'll film it and we'll I'll put you through everything. And I think it's a great way even as a trainer to learn it. So we should
stay tuned for part 2. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate the support. And comment below if there's a go-getter in your life that you know that we should have on next.
Appreciate having you on.
Awesome. That was great.
Peace.
Peace.